Okay, thank you for the introduction, Michael. Welcome everybody to our trial class. We're going to have an interesting class. I hope we have lots of fun and enjoy this class, and that will encourage you to join my future classes. We've had some good classes in the past, and what I try to do is have various different topics to make it as interesting as possible for you. This particular article, I think, will be one of the interesting ones. So first, let me just give you some background. As Michael mentioned, I've previously been in the finance division of a major bank, CIBC. I've worked in finance for many years, and I've started teaching more regularly once I retired from CIBC, and I've enjoyed doing it very much. And I've been doing this economics magazine course with Michael's students, and I think it's gone quite well. So let me just give you what the format is. What we usually do is I show the article, and I also show what the homework questions. Now, because this is a trial class, you won't actually need to do the homework, but I'm going to show you the homework questions anyways as a sample. So I'll show you all the homework questions, then I will show you the article, and when we read the article, we're going to read it together. Now, I think I jotted down most of your names, so I'm just going to pick a name at random. And paragraph 1, when I ask you to read the paragraph, you'll read the paragraph. And then what I do is I explain some of the words. Now, I might ask you to explain some of the words. If you know what it means, tell me what it means. If you don't know what it means, that's fine. Just say you don't know what it means, and I'll explain it. And we'll explain some of the concepts and the overview of the article to make sure that you understand what it is all about. Okay? So first, I'm going to show you an example of the homework. So this would be the homework. If this was a live class, this would be the homework. So the article is called "What is Real Anyways?" and it's about virtual reality. So let me read the questions first, and then we'll talk about the article. So these would be the 5 homework questions. What is the main advantage of the Microsoft Together mode for its team application? 2, what is it that virtual and augmented realities offer that is so beneficial? 3, how can an avatar be used in the virtual world? 4, how did Travis Scott suggest a concert could look if it did not have to take place in the real world? And 5, the 5th question is always an open-ended question where part of the answer is in the article and part of the answer is for your opinion. So 5, what are some of the things that the article mentions that computers will be able to do in the not too distant future? And this is the part where I ask for your ideas. What ideas do you have that you think that computers will be able to do that are not able to be done yet? Okay, so that is a sample. Those are the homework questions, and you might not know the answers to the questions right now. You might have some ideas, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through the article, read it paragraph at a time. I'm going to pick on one of you to read and give me your opinions and answer the questions as we go along. And again, if you don't know the answer, just say you don't know, and that's fine. I will help. Okay, so let us share the article. So this is an article about virtual reality. And that's why the title is "What is Real Anyways?" Because in virtual reality, sometimes you don't know what is real. It appears real, but maybe it isn't. So we'll answer the questions as we go along. And I'm going to pick on one person to start us off. And these names are just randomly generated. Charles, how about if you start us off and read the first paragraph?
Witness any video conference call, and it is striking how awkward it still is. Everyone is in boxes looking off in random directions. Microsoft tried to fix this recently with Together directions.
Together mode.
Together mode for its team application, created by Jaron Lanier, a virtual reality pioneer. It does with boxes and puts everyone in a shared virtual space such as an auditorium, all participants see the whole group at once, as if they were all being reflected in a huge virtual mirror. Mr.
Lanier
says this allows social and spatial awareness functions in the brain to work more naturally and makes it harder to notice irregularities in eye contact.
Okay, thanks for reading that, Charles. So I'm just going to highlight some of the words, and if at any time you have a question about any of the words, you can ask me, but I'm going to highlight the words that I think you may or may not know, and I'm going to ask you, since you were the reader of this paragraph, Charles, to tell me, do you know what it means, pioneer? What does it mean if somebody's a pioneer?
I don't know.
So pioneer means someone who's the first in the field. You know, back in the 1800s, the pioneers went to explore the Wild West of California before it was really inhabited, and they were considered pioneers. In this case, these are virtual reality pioneers. It means people that are really starting to investigate virtual reality, because virtual reality is a new field right now. So this, if you're a pioneer, it means you are looking at it. You're one of the first to look at it. They want to do away with boxes. You know why would they want to do with boxes? If you look at our screen, we're all in boxes, right? Everybody's in a box. But in virtual reality, they're looking at doing it differently. Put everybody in a shared virtual space, such as an auditorium. So Charles, you know what an auditorium is usually, right?
Yeah.
What's an auditorium usually?
Isn't it like one of those like big like big circle, or I don't know, and then where there's like the audience?
You might have an auditorium, for example, in your school. It would be a big place where where everybody gets together, the school auditorium, or it could be a place where you see music. You might go to a big auditorium and see a big music recital, right? And everybody is all together in the auditorium. You've got all people seated all around, maybe in a circle, for example. Well, right now in this class, we're all in little boxes. But futuristic wise, if it was virtual reality, can you imagine if we had this class, we're all in our own homes, but we're in a virtual reality auditoriums where we could see each other as if we're all right there. This is the future of virtual reality, where we could all be in one big auditorium. So see how it says here, all participants see the whole group at once, as if they were in a big, huge virtual mirror. So it's like we're seeing each other virtually. This is the future when we ask ourselves, what is real anyways? Okay, so thanks, Charles, for reading that paragraph. And now let's pick the next person. How about Nicole? Nicole, can you read the next one for Mr. Lanier?
All right. Wait, where do I start again?
Nicole, do you have your speaker on?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. For Mr. Lanier.
Do I start like at the witness?
For here, for Mr. Lanier, right here.
Oh, okay. For Mr. Land, together, Mo is a small contribution to a philosophy.
Can you speak a little louder? I can barely hear you.
For Mr.
Yeah, that's better.
What? For Mr. Lancy, together, Mo is a small contribution to a philosophy he holds dear, that as technology develops, it should keep people in mind instead of asking, is video contribution good or bad, or is VR good or bad? He says the real question is how can we make this more human central? He sees virtual reality as a path to the goal. By making computer more human friendly, poster for
Okay, no, that's good. Stop at that paragraph. Okay, thank you for reading that. So this person, Mr. Lanier, this is the together mode that what he is establishing. This is a way that as technology develops, this is a way that we can get virtual reality. And he's asking, instead of asking, is video conferencing good or bad? Is VR good or bad? The question is, how can we make this more human-centered? So the idea is we want to make virtual reality so that it's human-centered. Right now we have Zoom, and Zoom is very good, but we're all in different places and we're all in boxes. He sees virtual reality as the way to make this even better. Okay, I see who has raised their hand. So who, did you have a question?
Oh no, I was just asking whether I could read the next paragraph.
Okay, you can read the next paragraph. Just give me a sec. So that's the idea. This is this person wants to make virtual realities real. We get to get us out of our boxes that we're in right now in Zoom. Zoom is good, but we need something better in the future. So that's the goal here with virtual reality. Okay, Hugh, you would like to do the next paragraph? Go ahead. Let me move it up a little. I don't know if you can all see it. Okay, take posture.
Take posture, for example. Sitting at a keyboard, locked in position for hours and focusing on a fixed screen is a recipe for a range of physical complaints, from sore necks to tingling hands. Humans have not evolved to sit for long periods of time at a desk, staring at a screen while hammering away on a keyboard, says Mark Mon-Williams at the University of Leeds. Humans evolved to walk around and use their hands to explore the world that is in front of them. Virtual and augmented realities afford the option of using more natural movements when interacting with computer-generated environments, grasping and pointing at text or objects, for example, and physically moving them around a workspace.
Okay, so thanks, Hugh. So let's talk about this paragraph again. Now, he's talking about posture. We sit at a keyboard all day. We're locked in a position for hours. We're focusing on a screen. That's what a lot of us are doing right now. It's a recipe for a range of physical complaints. What does that mean? It's a recipe for a range of physical complaints, Hugh?
It means that basically it's a step into it's an ingredient in making a source for physical complaints.
Yeah, a recipe. We think of a recipe, we usually think of food. A recipe, what are our ingredients we put in? But here, this is an analogy. It's a recipe. It's causing physical complaints. Okay, what are those physical complaints? Sore necks, tingling hands. I'm sure you guys are typing a lot more than you used to. And maybe some of you have sore necks, tingling hands. And that's the challenge because we're on the computer a lot more than we were before. Notice how it says, humans have not evolved to sit for long periods of time at a desk. You guys have, I'm sure you've studied biology and evolution, and we've evolved in a certain way. And certainly the way evolution is, we haven't really evolved to sit hammering away at a keyboard. That's not what we evolved to. How did we evolve? We evolved to walk around, use our hands to explore the world in front of them. That's how we evolve, right? That's what we do. We get up, we walk around, we use our hands to explore what is around us. So sitting at a keyboard, that's not very natural for us, but that's what we're doing all day now, aren't we? Especially during the pandemic, we're spending a lot of time in front of the computer. So what's the solution? This is where virtual reality will help us in the future, because we haven't evolved to sit at a computer. We've evolved in this way. Let me highlight this again here. Walk around, to use our hands to explore the world in front of us. That's how we've evolved, right? We're used to that. Our ancestors 100, 200 years ago, that's how they evolved, walking around, using their hands, touching things. So virtual and augmented realities will allow us to use these more natural movement when we're interacting with different environments. We can grasp things. You know, I don't know, I'm familiar with the game Wii. I don't know if they still use that, where you can play tennis and interact with the computer and grab things. grab things, point at it. We don't do that enough when we're sitting in a Zoom class. But with this virtual reality coming, this is going to be the way that we're going to be in the future, actually moving things around. Okay? Is that clear? If anyone has a question, just put up your hand virtually and I'll answer it. If not, we will move on. Okay, let me move this down. And let's pick the next person. How about Jack?
Hello.
Jack, can you read starting from Alex Kipman?
Kipman, a computer engineer at Microsoft and inventor of the company's Kinect and HoloLens devices, poses a similar question: why are humans required to conform to the needs of computers rather than the other way around? Why don't we flip it? He asked. Why don't we ask technology to understand our world? How do we get digital technology to come out into our analogy space, as opposite to trying to get us into the digital space? His inventions are specially aimed at tackling those changes. The Kinect sensors, microphones, and infrared cameras let people use speech and gestures to control games and other fictions on Microsoft Xbox Live. The HoloLens extends that by mapping and understanding the user improvement into those devices bring technology out of screens and into the real world.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jack. So what are we saying here? He's saying that why don't we flip it? What is he saying? He's saying rather than why are humans required to conform to the needs of the computer rather than the other way around? Because right now we're kind of conforming to how computers are. He's saying, why don't we flip it? Get technology to understand our world. Our world is a virtual space. We're in the real world. We can touch and feel. Can we get computers to do that, to come into our analog space? Because that's where we are. We're in the analog space, as opposed to trying to get us to go into the digital space. So he's aimed at tackling those challenges. So Jack, when you hear the word tackling, what does that usually mean to you, Jack?
Tackling? I don't know.
Well, most people would say, oh, in football, you go ahead and you tackle somebody, right? If you ever seen a football game, they tackle a person. Well, here, figuratively speaking, we're talking about tackling those challenges. In other words, you have a challenge, you want to face that challenge and beat it, how you can overcome the challenges. So there are challenges in getting into this world, and that's what they're trying to tackle. That's what they're trying to solve. So they have a sensor microphone here and infrared cameras to allow speeches so they control these games. So special microphones and infrared cameras. I don't, infrared cameras where you can see lights and see things in a different way. The HoloLens extends that by mapping, understanding the user's environment. So different technologies so that we can go into this virtual world and understand it better and see things like we don't see them in our on a normal computer. So it says both devices bring technology out of the screens into the real world. So by using these things, let me clear some of this, by using the sensor microphones, the infrared cameras, we can go into this virtual world and get a better understanding and feel, make it feel like our real world. Okay, now I saw a couple of hands up. I'm assuming maybe that meant you wanted to read next paragraph. So Sherry, did you want to read the next paragraph? Is that why your hand was up?
Yes.
Okay, so let me move this down, Sherry, so you can see it a little better. Okay, Sherry. Okay, go ahead with these sorts of ideas.
Wait, if I log out, that means my phone died.
Who's talking now? Sherry?
Yeah, Sherry.
Okay. So go
Okay.
ahead, just read from these sorts of ideas.
Oh, these sorts of ideas will bring increased ease and richness to interactions between humans and computers.
Sherry, you still there?
I think her phone's dead just now.
Oh, is that
She
what you
said
meant?
she-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said 0. Okay, so I think who else had their hands? Cecilia? Did you want to read that paragraph? Start from the beginning. These sorts of ideas.
These sorts of ideas will bring increased ease and richness to interactions between humans and computers. The same technologies could also be used to push people beyond their own or even any human experiences. Scientists know that as long as an avatar is in a virtual world is programmed to respond in real time to an user's actions, those users will often co-opt the avatars as almost real extensions of their own bodies. People can easily inhabit avatars of a different gender or ethnicity, for example. They can even easily learn to control drastically different bodies, soaring over landscapes as virtual eagles or munching grass as virtual cows.
So how does that sound to you? Does that sound pretty fascinating?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at what they're saying. Okay, these sort of ideas is going to bring increased ease and richness to interaction with humans and computers. So look at what they say here. As long as an avatar in a virtual world is programmed to respond in real time to a user's action, those users will often co-opt the avatars as real extensions of their own bodies. So what does that mean? You can actually go in and imagine that, inhabiting an avatar. So you can go into the computer and be that person, kind of like you may be using video games right now to do some of this. But imagine going to school or doing any kind of learning activities, and you can be someone different, a different gender. So if you're a boy, you can be a girl, or a different ethnicity. So if you're black, you can become white, or white, you become black, and you can control different bodies. So imagine that. Being a virtual eagle, you can be an eagle and fly through the air, or be a cow munching grass. So there's really no end to what can be done in virtual reality. It's really our imaginations, and the future is coming. So these were pretty impressive things that can be done. Okay. So who did I see next? Terrence? Terrence, did you have your hand up?
Yeah.
I see you. You're muted. So Terrence, how about you read the next paragraph?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna read. My sister wants to read.
Who's that, Maya then?
Yeah.
Maya, okay, so
Maya.
Maya's gonna
Yeah.
read. Let me just highlight this, okay. This is more.
Okay. This is more than just a curiosity. Mr. Lanier wants to know what would happen if inhabiting different bodies in virtual reality gave people access to new forms of human intelligence and understanding, that the kind that peaks out once in a while with a great
Athlete?
Or with somebody playing jazz piano. And if that could be made more accessible, he believes, then it might get interesting. Can you turn yourself into a mathematical equation in order to gain the kind of rapid body intelligence that's possible?
Okay, Maya, good. So let's think about what we just said here. Inhabiting different bodies in virtual reality gave people access to new forms of human intelligence. So does that mean, do you think in the future you could inhabit a different body? Let's say you inhabited the body of somebody who is a great jazz pianist. He could play jazz piano. Maya, do you think it's possible sometime in the future that you could inhabit the body of a great jazz pianist and then you could become a great jazz piano player?
Yeah.
You think it's possible?
Yeah.
It could be. We don't know. It's kind of beyond our imagination right now. You'd think that somebody else would be playing it, but this is what the idea is of virtual reality. Now, what about here where it says you could become, let's say you could become you're not very strong in math, but if you inhabit the body of a strong mathematician, you could become a mathematical genius. What do you think, Maya? Is that possible too?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have good imagination. It means it is possible, and certainly it is possible. It's kind of hard for us to comprehend right now, but the future is coming. What is real anyways, as the title says. Okay. So who else had their hand up? Sophia?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sophia, did you want to?
Yeah. Starting from that is the future?
Yeah.
Okay. That is the future of extending human experience. Travis Scott's concert in Fortnite hinted at some of the creative opportunities already available. His was not the first concert in that virtual world. In 2019, Marshmello, a DJ and producer, performed a set in the game watched by more than 10 million fans. But that was just a musician playing a concert on a virtual stage in a game world. By contrast, Mr. Scott's event played with the idea of how a concert might look if it did not have to take place in the real world. The audience could therefore fly around beaches in outer space and underwater. You can think of this as, how would you tell a concert if you were God? Says Matthew Ball, a tech guru, if you controlled physics.
So Sophia, have you ever played Fortnite?
No.
Okay, well, I understand it's popular, and there's probably a few people in this class that have played it. But what has been done in Fortnite, which is a game, an interactive game, there's this person called Travis Scott, who plays music. He does concert, and what apparently he did, he held a concert in that virtual world. So within the Fortnite game, and Fortnite, as I understand, is a game where you just compete against other people. He actually held a concert there, and this is kind of one of the first dabbling of concerts in virtual world. Apparently not the first, but it was one of the first. And this could be the future, where you go into a virtual game and you see a concert. That's the way virtual reality is moving. That can be the kind of thing that you can see. And it also says here you could fly around beaches in outer space and underwater. That's the idea of this virtual reality. You can do different things that you may not be able to fly around in a beach in the real world, but you can do it in virtual reality. You may not be able to go in outer space, but in virtual reality, you could do it. Okay, so that was Sherry. Who else's hands do I see up? Tessa. Tessa, did you want to do the next paragraph?
Sure.
Okay, Tessa. So let me just move it down a little bit so you can see it a little better. So you're going to virtual mosh pit, the event.
Okay. That the event took place during a pandemic, when this was the only type of concert people could participate in, is important. Such events might in the past have been dismissed as video game experiences. But as interactions through Zoom and other services come to be seen as legitimate meetings, parties, and performance. So events such as Mr. Scott's should always seen as legitimate concerts, says Mr. Ball. We can't go to physical concerts, he says, so either we have to say it's a concert or we have to accept that there are no more concerts.
Okay, so what does that mean, Tessa, if something is legitimate?
I don't really know what.
So something that legitimate means it's real. So a legitimate would mean a real meeting. So sometimes it says interactions through Zoom can be seen as legitimate meetings. So some people in the past, people felt that for it to be a real meeting, you had to meet on live. It had to be a live meeting for it to be a real meeting. But now, since the pandemic, we see Zoom. If you have a meeting on Zoom, we have legitimate meetings. They are real meetings. In the past, we didn't look at that as a legitimate meeting. It was kind of online. It wasn't a real meeting. But the legitimate meeting is it's really a true meetings. So you can, now we have meetings, legitimate meetings. We have parties on Zoom. You probably never had parties on Zoom before the pandemic.
Not really.
They're real, they're legitimate parties. You know, you play games with your friends on Zoom. I'm sure some of you are doing that. And you see performances on Zoom. We didn't used to do that. We wanted to see it live. Well, now because of the pandemic, we have a different view of what is real anyways. These are legitimate meetings, legitimate parties, legitimate performances. We can't now go to physical concerts, so these are now legitimate. So now the line is it's thinner between what's real and what's not real. And that's where we're going to go in the future, into virtual reality, where that will be real. That's the point that the author is making here. What is real anyways? Okay, so who did I have next here? Oh, Sherry, you were the one, you started and you got cut off. Is your phone working okay now, Sherry?
Yes, now it is.
Okay, so we'll let you do another paragraph so you get your chance. All right, so start here where there are many.
There are still many technical hurdles to making the digital and physical worlds work together. As fast and capable as computer graphics have become, for example, VR focuses only on just two of the senses through which people experience reality, sight and sound. In this physical world, it would be difficult to imagine life without the other senses, and in particular, touch, grasping, and manipulating objects is a fundamental part of the way people experience and gather information about their surroundings.
Okay, so in the world that we're in right now, today, we're in Zoom. We can't, if I show you an object here, I show you my pencil, you can't touch it, you can't grasp it, you can't manipulate it. But if we were in a virtual world, maybe it would be different. You'd be able to grasp the pencil that I have here. And that's the idea right now. There's technical hurdles to make the digital and physical worlds together. So the computer graphics have become very real, but they only focus on sight and sound. That's not a complete world for us, sight and sound, because we like to touch, we like to grasp, and the sense of smell. We can't do that right now, but that could be coming in the future, in the real virtual world. Okay, so let's continue on. Who else? Stephen. Okay, Stephen, you didn't have a turn yet, Stephen, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, Stephen, so why don't you start with history as a guide?
If history is a guide, computing platforms and internet connection will become faster and more widespread. Latency will go down, input and output devices will improve, and game engines and their successors will be able to create customized virtual worlds on the fly. At some point in the future, anyone who wants to may be able to switch in and out of fully immersive virtual worlds, fitting in and out of whatever the real version of Neil Stephenson's metaverse turns out to look like.
Okay, so what does that mean if you're flitting in and out?
Have no clue.
So flitting in and out just means you're going in and out quickly between the two worlds. Flit in, flit out. Okay, so it says here, if history is a guide, so based on what we've seen in history, we know that computing platforms and internet connections would become faster. Clearly, that's what's been happening. The computers that we have today, if I look back when I was a child, we didn't have any computers. The technology that we have in our phone, I would have needed a whole room to have that kind of technology. And now I have all that technology in my phone. So computers have clearly become faster. Internet connections are much faster. Latency will go down. Do you know what latency is?
It's like time.
It's time, it's the delay. So back when the internet first came on, we used to have what was called AOL, American Online. You dial in on your phone and you'd go ding, ding, and you'd wait for the internet to come. You'd have to dial in. It would be so slow. And then finally the internet would come up and it would be delayed and it would be very slow. Well, in 15, 20 years, it's changed so much that now the internet is instantaneous. You go on, you go to Google, and there you are. And it's only getting quicker every year. So latency will go down, meaning that delay will go down. It will be a lot quicker. Okay? You'll be able to switch in and out of these virtual worlds very quickly because the technology is moving so quickly. Okay, thanks, Stephen. And who do I have here? Aaliyah, you have your hand on? Aaliyah, okay, why don't you read the last paragraph for us, Aaliyah?
Okay.
What seems certain?
What seems certain is that
Sophisticated
3D digital worlds will appear on ever more of the screens of successive generations of devices that people already use every day. As activities, particularly interactions between people in virtual realities, can generate practical and aesthetic outcomes that have mortal consequences and personal meanings. The idea that the real world is limited to that which is physically present nearby will seem increasingly bizarre. What, after all, is real anyway?
Yes, what after all is real anyways? Okay, so have you ever heard the word, it's a big word, Aaliyah, but have you ever heard the word sophisticated?
I think I've heard it before.
Okay, so if a person is sophisticated, it means they're really good, really impressive type person. So here we're talking about a sophisticated 3D digital world. It's going to become more sophisticated.
Doesn't sophisticated also mean complicated, sort of?
It could be complicated. Usually a person that is sophisticated could be a more complex person. But usually you look at them with a lot of respect, a person that is sophisticated. And Aaliyah, this word that was difficult to pronounce, this is actually aesthetic. When something you talk about aesthetic, it means it's beautiful. An aesthetic outcome would be a beautiful outcome. Okay, good job reading that. So let me stop the share for a minute here and see your comments. Okay. Sherry made a good comment. Sherry, you're gonna stick to the earth, Sherry? You don't want to fly around, Sherry?
I mean, I like virtual reality, but I don't really like the sound of going to another world.
Okay. Well, maybe you don't want to really fly into space, but how about in a virtual world where you're not doing it? If you put on these glasses, magnetic, fancy glasses, and then you can be in a virtual world and you can touch things virtually. Do you think that might be attractive to you?
Yeah,
Yep.
I would really want to do it.
Okay. All right. So what did you guys think of this article? Anybody have a comment for me? Put up your hand if you liked it, or tell me if you have a comment. Okay. Did you guys like it? Okay. 2 participants raised hand.
Yes.
Who's raised their hand? I can't see the whole screen, so I can't see who raised the hand. Is it Sophia? Did you raise your hand? No, you thumbs up. Let me see. I can't see who raised the hand. Who raised your hand? Because there's so many people, I can't see who raised their hand.
I like
There are so many. There's so many like it. Jack.
They like it. Okay.
Canis, Tiger, CC.
Okay. Oh, I see the
all
thumbs
like
up. Yes, I see the thumbs
Yes.
up. I didn't see any raised hands for questions. So yeah, I see all the thumbs ups. Okay. So
Oh,
that,
you
does that
asked
mean,
me
I
a
hope that means you guys liked it. So
You
let me
you
just
asking
show
the
you.
questions? There's some more questions too. You guys have questions?
Do you have questions? I'm going to show you the homework questions and we can talk about it. But first, I want to know if you guys have any questions. Was there anything that wasn't clear about the article?
I just had a comment. I feel like the virtual reality thing, it's kind of related to a school of philosophy called solipsism. It's like nothing is real outside of your mind. So like I think it would, if virtual reality becomes more commonplace and more realistic, then I think it would also kind of impact philosophy. And like people would have to redefine what it means to be real exactly.
Okay, so that's a deep meaning for what is real anyways. Anyone have some thoughts on that? That's a good thought.
Wait a minute. Doesn't virtual reality hurt your eyes?
It shouldn't. No, it shouldn't hurt your eyes. It's just a different way of looking at things. You should be able to go immerse yourself in virtual reality, and it'll just be like, after a while, you just get used to it, and you'll wonder. You see what the title says? What is real anyways? You'll wonder, oh, am I in the real world or am I in virtual reality? In the future, it's going to be like that because we're going to go back and forth between the real world and the virtual reality world, that we won't know which world we're in sometimes.
I don't think we're ready for that, Joel.
Well, I don't think we're ready yet, but I think the world now, I mean, when I was a kid and and I had to go to the bookstore and go to the encyclopedia and look up something and it'd take forever. Now I just go to Google. And if you told me when I was a kid that I could find things instantly in Google just by saying, tell me about zebras, and it would tell me all about zebras, when I had to go to the encyclopedia and look up Z-E-B-R-A,
Yeah.
the world has changed. So things that we can't even imagine right now are, for your kids, your guys' kids, it's going to be the real world.
Totally agree. This is why Uncle Michael from Mentors or Joel will love this class. That's the words all yours. We'll keep telling you guys, right?
Okay.
Be creative, right? Anything can happen for the future, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Go ahead, Joel. That's you go to the questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll go through the questions, but this article is probably a more interesting article. I hope you guys liked it. It wasn't very complex. Some of the articles might have a few more difficult words that I could teach you. There were a few difficult words in here, but I think most of you, could follow along. It's the kind of topic that we all follow. So let me just, you're not going to actually have to do the homework because it's a trial class, but let me just show you here. Okay, so I'd like to focus on number 5, okay, for now. So what are some of the things the article mentioned that computers will be able to do in the not too distant future? What ideas do you think that you have that computers will be able to do that you can't do yet? Do any of you have any ideas of things that computers will be able to do in the future that they can't do yet? Anyone have any ideas?
I think they can.
Who's speaking? Tell me who it is.
Ho, H-O-U.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Tell me what you think.
I think they could they'll be able to code themselves.
Ooh, that's a scary thought, isn't it? Code themselves. So what does that mean? What could they do if they code themselves?
So if they would code themselves, first of all, coders and a lot of people would lose their jobs. And well, if they could code themselves, we wouldn't be telling them really what to do. They would be just doing it. Let's say, but I think we would still have some level of control. Let's say we want to tell them to clean the living room. They would code themselves and tell themselves what to do.
Well, that's right. But that could be a scary thought. How about they could code themselves to eliminate humans? We hope they can't go that far, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. They could code themselves to eliminate jobs. That's definitely a thought. Aaliyah, you have a thought?
So they can work like television.
So you have a remote control and it can do whatever you want.
Okay, so they could control things. So do you mean you would have the remote control or they would have the remote control?
Well, we would have the remote
You-
control.
okay, because it could go either way.
When we press when we press a button, it would do whatever we say. Like
Okay, so
there
we're-
can be like a record button to like it can record your voice to say what you want to do.
okay, so computers will be remote controlled, just like what we do with our TV right now. Okay, Sophia, did you have something?
Yeah, it could be possible to practice for certain jobs, like babysitters, like instead of going through like physical training, they could go through the virtual training and practice with like children and how to handle different like situations and stuff.
Okay, be able to physically do it. Right now, we're limited to maybe watching a YouTube video, but you could actually touch and feel. Okay, Cecilia, you had an idea?
Maybe one day computers could be like flexible.
Okay, what do you mean flexible?
I mean, like they could bend and stuff.
Oh, bend, okay, so it'd make it easier to put into a certain spot.
Yeah, if you had like a really tight space or something.
Okay, all right. Lynn, did you have an idea? Lynn and Ella? Lynn S and LS.
This is really small, but like I think translating services is going to get better. Like for instance, Google Translate, it's probably going to improve because right now some languages are giving it lots of trouble.
Yeah, there's certain limits to Google Translate because it doesn't always translate correctly and it might not understand you. So certainly there's room for growth in that one. I see Kenneth said share smells, absolutely. And Ethan, they could have their own minds of their own, make their own decisions. Yes. Tessa, you had an idea?
I have an idea. It's like where schools and like that people should not be wearing uniforms.
Okay, so what do you mean? They shouldn't wear uniforms and then what?
I kind of feel like, but I also have another idea. I feel like that there shouldn't be like bad people in this world because like it kind of hurts people's feelings because they worked hard for those stuff and they still lose it, and there are people losing lives in their families.
So are you concerned that computers are going to eliminate jobs?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Sophia, you had a point?
Yeah, schools can use like the technology to show like children more in depth I guess like how life works. I don't know. Like you don't have to be limited to like in the classroom. I guess like field trips kind of.
Yeah, go out on a field
Like
trip,
virtual
a virtual
field
trip. You go on a virtual field trip. I think that's what he was getting at in this article. Sure, go to a school on a virtual field trip and see nature and see the animals. Okay, that could be one. All right. Any other hands up? Anyone else? Tessa, is your hand still up? Or is that from before?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Sophia, okay, Lynn, we got, are all the hands down now? Okay. Okay, so the hour is up, but if you have any other questions, I can say, Lynn, you have more questions, I think? Is your hand still up, Lynn?
Like I just want to add maybe when scientists, for instance, let's say they study the properties of a dangerous chemical, like they could potentially they could use the information and then send it to teachers, and then teachers could use the information and then kind of simulate it in the classroom. So for instance, if they were teaching a chemistry class and they were learning about highly explosive chemicals, they could do virtual experiments without running the risk of actually blowing up themselves.
Okay, yeah, could you do it in a safe environment because you'd only be treating those chemicals, you'd be touching them virtually and not really. That's true. Okay, Aaliyah says we can reach and touch the other end. For sure, that's the whole idea, because right now we're limited. We can't reach out and touch, but in the virtual world, we can reach out and touch. and computers can walk and talk by themselves. Oh, that's a scary thought. What's going to happen, Lee, if the computers come out and touch us? What do you mean?
Well, that would be better. Well, it would be cuter because the computers will have arms and legs.
Oh, so you can shake the
People will
computer's
want to
hand.
buy them.
So you can shake the computer hand and say, thank you for helping me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think the
Sophie,
computers might be able to change shape.
they can change shape. Okay. Sophia?
Maybe like virtual daycare almost, that you don't have to like have anybody to watch a child. You could put them in the virtual world and let, like, I don't know, let them explore or something.
That's going to work for some kids, but maybe some kids that are more challenging with their behavior, that might be more difficult. But
Yeah,
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 we can
there must be
adapt.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, it might not work for everybody, but it could work for some people, for sure. Okay, anyone else? I'm trying to look at all the faces. I can't see everyone at once here. Okay. All right. Okay, Michael, did you have any comments? Anyone else with comments? Okay, so I'll just, to finish off, I'll just show you what the homework questions would be. Just if it was a class. So the questions would be, what is the main advantage of Microsoft Together team for its team applications? What is it virtual and augmented realities offer that's so beneficial? How can an avatar be used in the virtual world? How did Travis Scott suggest a concert could look if it did not have to take place in the real world? So do you guys remember the main advantage of the Together mode in the team application?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone want to tell me?
It's so like we wouldn't all be looking like we face different directions, and we wouldn't be like in squares.
That's right. So here, it's like it'd be a virtual space, an auditorium. You can see the whole group at once. That would be the advantage of it, correct? Okay. Okay, so I don't want to impinge Michael's time. Michael, are you there?
Fly